welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my 2022 Senate prediction as of October 1st. Yes, this is the second, so my bad there. So, just labeling the safe states. Grassley carries Iowa safe. Okay, for the likely states, not Utah for the Democrats. No, Colorado. The GOP gets Alaska, Florida, Ohio, Missouri, and New Hampshire. So in Colorado, I think Bennett is not strong enough with Hispanic and Latino voters. I think in a red wave, he probably struggles in the Denver suburbs. In Alaska, with ranked choice, it's probably going to be kind of weird. I think at the end of the day, Shabaka wins. Florida, I think that Val Demings at this point is probably the Democratic Party's nominee. I think that she's an alright candidate, generally speaking. I think that in Florida, she is not the best candidate. I think that where her strengths and weaknesses lie, I don't think that necessarily aligns with what the Democratic Party should probably be running in Florida. Because what they should probably be running is somebody with strong appeal to older white voters, strong appeal to the suburbanites. That's also going to do very well with Hispanic and Latino voters. I think that Demings isn't necessarily weak with all those demographics. I think that she would be pretty solid with Hispanic and Latino voters, decent with suburbanites, and probably meh with older white voters. But in Florida, especially in a red wave against a juggernaut like Marco Rubio, running a candidate like Val Demings in a state like Florida is not going to win. And I think that at this point, no Democrat actually realistically beats Marco Rubio. Um, in Missouri, I think that Lucas Kunst does well enough with white rural voters. I've been kind of big on Kunst's chances for a while now, but I think that he does well enough with white rural voters to make it likely. Although that could definitely be safe. Ohio, Tim Ryan does pretty well with the white working class, probably struggles with the black vote. New Hampshire, I discussed this before, Sununu is ridiculously popular. He will likely win by a fairly large margin of victory. Or at least for a Republican in New Hampshire, especially if it's a red wave, I could see that actually being safe. For the Democrats' lean states, they get Nevada and Georgia. Whereas the GOP get North Carolina. So in Nevada, I think that it's probably going to be titanium lean. I think that CCM is pretty strong with suburbanites, pretty strong with Hispanic and Latino voters. I think that Laxalt Mick is a bit of a failed nominee. I think that a lot of people are very big on Nevada flipping. It's probably not going to happen. I mean, like, a lot of people, it's very unrealistic. I think Nevada is sort of titanium lean D in a very similar sense that Florida is. I'm like saying that Nevada is gonna flip really in any election, in or any like soon ish like election that's gonna be coming up soon is almost like saying that Texas will flip by 2024 or 2028, or that Beto O'Rourke is going to win in Texas. I've discussed Texas before. Probably won't flip for another 15, or probably won't flip for like 15 or 20 years or so. But I think that it's, I think that that's a bit unrealistic. Yes, it's narrow, but it's still a Democratic state ish at the end of the day. Georgia, it's kind of on the line between being tilt and lean. I think that McWarnock carried it by roughly 2% against Loeffler, and she obviously didn't have Trump turnout. With Biden being very unpopular, I could realistically see there being Trump turnout with rural voters, which would definitely make Warnock getting 2% again much, much more difficult, especially if he runs against somebody like Herschel Walker, who I think is already better for white rural voters than Loeffler. I think at the end of the day, tilt or lean is kind of on the line, but I think it does go to Warnock regardless. North Carolina, I think that there's going to be enough. I think that Cherry Beasley is a pretty strong candidate for North Carolina. I think against a candidate like Ted Budd and in a red wave, it's just not like Beasley has not. Beasley doesn't have a great shot of winning, and it's not even necessarily that Beasley is a weak candidate. I think it's just a lot of it is really, really bad luck for Terry Beasley. Because, I mean, like, I could see her realistically, assuming that it wasn't against Ted Budd, winning. I mean, like, I think that she has the appeal to the black vote and the appeal to the white working class and the appeal to maybe the appeal to suburbanites. I think that North Carolina realistically doesn't flip until like 2028 ish, but I think that she would be one of the favorites to flip it. I think that she is one of the stronger Democrats, but it's just really bad luck for her. I think Ted Budd does really well with the white working class. I think he does very well with the white rural vote. I could see him doing pretty well with suburbanites, and especially in a red wave. I'm gonna give that narrow lean for Budd. And for the final, for like the tilt states, I am going to give them all to the GOP. So in Arizona, I think that if the GOP nominee ends up being Masters, it's actually probably Tilt D. I think, given what we've seen, it's probably going to be Brnovich. And I think that in a red wave, um, with a candidate that's already strong for traditionally conservative suburbanites, with an unpopular Democratic president, I think that this, especially when Mark Kelly ran against an awful candidate, and that's how he won. I mean, like, Trump was an awful candidate for the state as well, and he barely lost. I think that with how favorable this will probably be for Republicans, and particularly I think with traditionally conservative suburbanites, I think that's when demographic or when you're unpopular with them as a Democrat, if that's kind of how you win, then that's not a good sign. I'm going to give this to Brnovich, but this could definitely change. Wisconsin, I think of these two, Wisconsin's actually the less likely to go red. And that's probably a bit of a hot take, but I think that Mandela Barnes does pretty well with the black vote, but is meh for the white working class and probably a bit below average with suburbanites. But it'll likely be a red wave. The white working class will probably I think Mandela doesn't do as well with the white working class as before. Still does very well with the black vote, but I think, especially given how weak Mandela already was, and not to say weak, but below average probably Mandela already was in the suburbs. Given that it'll probably be a red wave, I'm going to give that to the GOP tilt. Pennsylvania, I think that Fetterman struggles with the black vote. I think that Lamb does better, but it still isn't Biden levels. I think that Lamb does worse with white rural voters and does worse with the white working class, whereas Fetterman probably does better with them. I think they're both pretty weak candidates, especially if it's a red wave or the suburbs will be more favorable for the GOP, and the white working class probably is more favorable, higher turnout from their base. I think that probably gives that to the GOP. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like below. Stay tuned for my next video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please comment your suggestions down below, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye!